Hey there, what's going on? Basir here, back again with another new video. And in this video, we are going to create this 3D cube using only CSS. Alright, so there are 6 buttons right here corresponding to each side of the cube. So if I click on right, it's gonna rotate to the right side, likewise toward the top side, the bottom, left, back, and finally the front side. Alright, so in this video you will learn everything you need to know about creating 3D shapes using CSS. So without any further ado, let's dive right into it and create it from scratch. Okay, so I've already opened my code data and created this simple HTML file. So I'll start creating the 3D cube and container that's gonna wrap everything within, and then this cube wherein I'm gonna add all the faces. There are gonna be 6 of these. So I'm gonna just speed up this part of the video so you don't see me typing all of these. Alright, so I have created this container, and within that container I'm placing the cube. You will get to know the reason for why I created this wrapper around the cube. And then there is the cube with 6 faces of that, starting from the top all the way to the bottom. So there are the back, top, right, left, and the front side of the cube. So now let's go to the CSS file right here and start styling it. First of all, I'm going to create a root variable. So this is going to be a size of 225, or let's go with 250 pixels. And then down below here, for the body, I'm gonna add a font family. Let's go with this one, and then display this as grid. To place everything in the center, I'm gonna use place con in center, then a minimum height of 80 vertical height. Alright, so that is it. And then if I click this and run this in live server, as you can see, I'm gonna close these. Alright, so back into style the CSS, I'm gonna style the container. Whoops. And the container has got a width from the variable. I'm going to use this size, which is 250 pixels, and a height of 250 pixels. Alright, then there is this cube right here. So as you can see that the cube is nested within the container, so I can just inherit that width and height with percentage. So it's 100% and a height of 100%. Alright, so as we are going along, I'll figure out what other styles I have to add for the cube in the container. Alright, and then now there are the faces for each, and then there is the face. I'm gonna use my snippets because there is a border and a shadow that I already come up with, and I don't want to go from the first how I figured that out. Then this is gonna have a width. Again, from the variable, this is the size, which is 250 pixels, and again a height of size 250 pixels. Alright, so now if I go back right here, now you can see that there are 6 faces that are stacked or piled up on top of each other, and then I need to also position the text in the center using the line height, again a variable size here, and then text align this to the center. Let's add a little bit of font size for this too, like 1.25 rem. If I go back, there we go. So we have created all 6 shapes successfully in here. And then now the next step is that we need to create that shape of 3D. Alright, so to create that shape of 3D, what I'm gonna do that I'm gonna stack all of these in one place on front here using the positioning of absolute. So for that, I'm gonna position this as relative. And then down below right here for the face, I'm gonna position this as absolute, like so. And if I go back, then all of these should be stacked and piled up on top of each other. Alright, so what I want to show you now is that I'm gonna create that 3D space right here. So to create that 3D space, we first need to add a little bit of depth or the z-index, and for that to do, first of all, I'm gonna add the perspective for this one, like 1000 pixels. And this 1000 pixels, this specifies that how far the user is looking at this cube. In this case, I've already prepared this one so that it could help a little bit. Well, in 3D space there are 3 axes. The first is the x-axis, the second is the y-axis, and finally the z-axis. And this is where our 2D box or 2D div is located into. It's only in the x and y-axis. And if we move it up a little bit, for example, in the Z index in here, that you will get to see that how am I going to do that using translate Z encode. So that way we can create the 3D shape. All right, so now I'm going to go back in here and come in some of these shapes so that we can understand how I'm going to go from scratch creating all the faces one by one. So now you can see that this is the front and the back, I believe, that they are overlapping. So I'll just simply go and create another background color for this. And this is going to be pure white, and let's add a little bit of opacity like 0.8. all right, and the next step is that we need to also add the transform style to preserve 3D. all right, so this is the cube, which is the parent of all the faces, and this has to preserve the 3D. And then we need to also add a little bit of rotation, so it rotates, let's say on the x-axis it's going to rotate negative 15 degree, and then on the y-axis it's going to rotate 15 degrees. all right, now if I go back right here, this is how it is going to look like. And right now it doesn't really look that this is a 3D space because we haven't yet added the depth for that. So if I go to front, this front, and transform, then translate Z this to be 150 pixels, and then I go back. Now you can see there is the front and that's the back right there. And then back into HTML, I commented out all of those, added the perspective 1000 pixels for the container, and for the cube I rotated like negative 15 degree to the x-axis and positive 15 degree to the y-axis, and added transform style of preserve 3D. Which is right here, so that we can look it's 3D. Let me actually comment this out so you can see how it is going to affect it. You can see that without preserve 3D that's not going to work. However, it can work without perspective because still this is 3D space. But why is it that it's working is that we are looking so close to it. Actually, we want this to be a little bit far away from us, so 1000 pixels away from us, and that's the starting point where we are looking at it. And now let's add all the other faces, then we're going to add the buttons and then flip it out the way we want to. all right, so first of all I'm going to have to rotate this back right here so that this shouldn't be the face that we are looking at too, because this is the back and should go also 150 pixels on the z-axis as well. So that's how I'm going to do it, is that this go here, get the back, then transform, and then we want this to rotate on the y-axis 180 degrees. So rotate y 180 degrees. Now if I go back, you can see that here we have rotated it successfully, but we also need to translate z, translate it to 150 pixels. I don't know why is it called translate. It better be to move z. That was making much sense, but we are moving it on the z-axis like 150 pixels to make it a cube. all right, so now I'm gonna go back in here and then uncomment all of these one by one and add those faces. So let's just first comment out all of these, and now let's add the top face for that. all right, so now you can see this is the top, which is in the middle, and now we have to position it at the top of the cube. So this has to rotate like this, and I'm thinking that this is rotate y 90 degree. all right, so based on this diagram that I have shown you, this is assuming this is the top one, and we have to rotate it like this, which you can see obviously we have to rotate it like this on the y-axis. all right, so the way we can do that, I'm gonna get the top right now and then transform, then translate, that was translate, rotate x actually, so that is a 90 degree. Let's see if it works, and then go back. There it is. So now right now this is where it's located, but again we need to move this up a little bit by 150 pixels. So I'm gonna just copy this out and then paste it right here. There we go, and now this is at the very top. But why is this going too far away like that? all right, so let's actually go with 300 pixels right here. So the reason for that was I was using 150 pixels, but this was 250, so 300 divided by 2, that's 150. Now there it is, this is the top of the cube. And if you want to rotate the cube right here, we can do that. Turn the cube or rotate it, whatever you want to call that, transform, and then this is, I believe, rotate X to a negative 90 degrees. All right, and now you can see this is the top of the cube, and if I comment this out, it's just gonna go back to the front side like this. And if you want to see actually the back side of this cube, I can do that as well. Well, that is a rotate Y, so transform and rotate Y to this. If I rotate it like this is gonna be 90 degree, and that's 180 degrees, so 180 degree. And now if I click it, there we go, this is the back of the cube. So I'm gonna just comment this out and go back to the front side. Now I'm gonna add the next side of the cube, which is the right side. So back into style, the CSS in here, you can see it's in the middle, and what we have to do is to position it right here. First we're gonna flip it a little bit or rotate it on the, it's on the y-axis, I believe. Yeah, so it's on the y-axis by 90 degrees. All right, so let's just go down here, transform, and then rotate y by 90 degrees, and then translate Z to 150 pixels. Now save it, and if I go back right here, now you can see the right side is at the right part of the cube right there. And now again, if you want to see that, well, actually we can do that again. Now in the state of 180 degrees, this is gonna be negative 90 degrees. All right, because we are, I'm mapping it in my mind actually. Yeah, this is it. So because we are rotating it on the y-axis in negative 90 degree, that's gonna show up the right side. So I'm gonna comment this out back again, and we are on the front side. Now it's time to add the left side. It's actually the opposite of the right side. So basically I'm just gonna duplicate it down below here and then replace it with the left, and instead of rotate y 90 degree, I'm gonna go with negative 90 degrees. Now you can see this is the left side of the cube, and then if I just comment this out, and this is 90 degree on a y-axis, now you can see this is the left side of the cube. So just comment that out back again. So we added all parts of the cube except for the bottom. So in here I'm gonna comment this out as well, and let's add this bottom one, which is right now at the middle, and then we need to position this right at the bottom. So this way, I believe this is gonna be okay. So the top was this direction, this is toward the bottom. In this case, it's a rotate X by positive 90 or negative 90. It's gonna go like this, so it's a negative 90 degrees. So then down here, let's get the bottom and then transform and rotate Y, it's rotate X to a negative 90 degrees. All right, go back, and there we go. You can see this rotated on the x-axis, and again we need to add the depth for that, so 150 pixels. All right, so now if I go back, now you can see there is the bottom of the cube, and again if you want to rotate that, well, actually you can do that on the x-axis. I believe this is positive 90 degrees. All right, that is the bottom of the cube. So we are done with this part. I've created all parts of the cube, and this is how we added it with rotation and translate Z. All right, so I hope it makes sense. And now let's add the buttons corresponding to each face of this cube right here. So for that, I'm gonna just go here and create this label button, and then this is for the front side, and this is called as front. And then to create that button, I'm gonna make use of the radio. All right, and the ID is front, the name is face. Now if I go back, there we go. So in the style, the CSS, I'm gonna add a margin top right here of 50 pixels. So there's just a little bit of a space between these two. And then since we call this a button right here, so I'm gonna actually make it look like a button. So down here, I'm gonna get that button, add a padding for that, like 0.5 rem, and let's see, 1 rem. Then let's add a font size of 0.85 rem here, and then also border radius of 0.25 rem, and then a background color. I'm gonna go with this greenish color here, And then let's see what else. We also need to change this color so it is white, and then text align to the center. Save it and go back. This is the button that we just created. And then just a very simple hover animation for that. Well, not necessarily animation, it's a box shadow. So 0, 0, 0, 4 pixels, no, 1 pixels, and then let's go with white here, and again 2 pixels with the same color as above right here, and then go back, and if I hover on that, this is the effect we created, and the cursor is pointer as well. So now what we're gonna do is that if I click on the front side, then I wanted to rotate on the front here, but before that I'm gonna actually comment this out, and so we can see another side of the cube. All right, so now right at the very bottom, actually I'm gonna change this front to be bottom instead, okay, and preserve that front the way it was. Then go back into style.css and comment this out. Sorry for inconvenience. So I just replaced front with the bottom, and now back in here, now if I click on bottom, this should actually rotate that and show the bottom of that. So in the interactions, let's say bottom, and then bottom is checked. They want to get the container, followed by that the cube, and then transform and rotate it. Now let's decide whether which side it has to be rotated. We're gonna have to rotate this on the x-axis by 90 degrees because it's gonna rotate like this, and that by 90 degrees we can see the bottom of that. So rotate x, and then here we're gonna pass in 90 degrees and save it. Now if I go back here, whoops, why is that? Now click it, and there we go, we can see the bottom of that. But that's so sad, and we want to add a little bit of transition, so it takes a little bit of time and do some other cool stuff. So I'll just, excuse me, I'm gonna go to the cube and add it right here, then go back and then refresh and click on bottom, and there we go. So this cubic bezier with 0.85 seconds, and this is gonna create that effect, which looks really nice. All right, so now we need to actually place the buttons like this, 3 columns, and all of those side by side. So I don't want to go in the HTML and mess with that. So actually I'm gonna have to just copy all of these and then paste it right here. There we go. Now we have each of those buttons with this input type of radio. We don't need those input type of radio. So what I will do right here is that I'm gonna get the input with the type of radio and then display those as none. There we go. Whoops. This was supposed to work. There we go. And now if I go back, all of those are gone. And then for the buttons, which is this grid right here, if I go back, you'll see that this is, oh, that's called grid actually. So I'm gonna get the grid and then display this as grid, and then grid template columns, whoops, columns, we're gonna say repeat tree 1FR, and then let's add a little bit of gap right here, like 1 rem. There we go. And then if I go back right here, now you can see all of these are beside each other. Actually, I'm gonna go to 0.5 rem instead. So now we need to just add those CSS corresponding to each of these buttons. So down below right here, this was for the bottom, and then to create the top for that, which is the reverse of that. So basically that was positive 90 degrees, this is negative 90 degree. Now I click on bottom, it's gonna go to the bottom, and click on the top, it's gonna go to the top. The lift didn't work because we haven't yet added any interaction for that, so let's do that as well. And then down here, the lift, when it is checked, then we're gonna get the container, followed by that the cube, and then transform. Then for the lift, I believe it's a rotate Y, because it's gonna rotate on the Y-axis based on this diagram that I have created. Let me maximize that. This is it. So we need to rotate it on the Y-axis, and back in here again. So we need to rotate on the Y by 90 degrees. All right. And the right side of that is basically the reverse of that. So I'm gonna just write that as well. And this is for the right side, it's saying negative 90 degrees. And back in here now, if I click on the lift, it's gonna rotate to the left side, it's gonna rotate to the right, to the bottom, and finally to the top. Now need to just add the back side as well. So there is the back, and when this is checked, again we want to get the container, the cube, and then I'm gonna transform. Again, we need to decide between rotate X and rotate Y. So as you saw earlier, that rotate Y was, excuse me, this left side was rotate Y 90 degrees, and if we rotate it once again, that'll be the back of the cube. So that's 90 plus 90, 180 degrees, basically this left one right here. If I just copy this and paste it right here, and this time instead of 90 degrees, I go with 180 degree, then this should take me to the back of the cube. Now if I click on back, there we go. So this is gonna rotate to the bottom, to the left, to the right, top, and finally to the front side of the cube. So that was it for this video, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notification for more such videos like this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching the video.